Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar Alert. Today, we're re-diving into a massive topic that set the currency world on fire. A rate bombshell that has some people dreaming of incredible wealth. Popular commentator Frank 26 recently sparked a new wave of excitement with discussions pointing to a hypothetical Iraqi dinar rate of $4.5 at the same time. Rumors have been swirling about the Vietnamese dong potentially hitting $3.30. These numbers are absolutely electrifying, and they've spread like wildfire across forums, social media, and right here on YouTube. It's reignited the age-old debate. Could a massive revaluation, an RV, actually be on the horizon? But what's really behind these claims? Is it possible for Iraq or Vietnam to reach such mind-blowing currency values? Let's separate the facts from the speculation and break down what's really going on. First, let's talk about this rate bombshell. What was actually said? Frank 26 and other commentators often explore the possibility of a dramatic change in Iraq's currency value, whose recent comments were interpreted by many as suggesting the dinar could one day reach that magical $4.50 mark. And the community's reaction was immediate and powerful. Similarly, the idea of the dong reaching $3.30 popped up, adding fuel to the fire. It's critical to understand that these numbers are not official. They don't come from the Central Bank of Iraq, the Iraqi government, or the Vietnamese Central Bank. Instead, they're born from speculative analysis, hopes tied to Iraq's vast natural resources, and interpretations of economic reforms. While they are not official policy, they have certainly opened up the conversation about whether such high exchange rates are even remotely possible. So, let's look at Iraq's economic position. Could the dinar truly reach $4.50? To answer this, we need to look at reality, not just wishful thinking. Iraq's potential is undeniable. It holds over 145 billion barrels of proven oil reserves and massive natural gas fields. If the country can achieve political stability and clamp down on corruption, its currency could certainly strengthen over time. The Central Bank of Iraq is already making moves, tightening the money supply, stabilizing inflation, and modernizing its banking system. These are all necessary steps before any major currency adjustment. However, huge challenges remain. Political instability, a heavy reliance on oil revenue, and widespread corruption are still holding Iraq back. These issues make a sudden overnight jump to $4.50 extremely unlikely in the short term. Could it ever happen? Realistically, yes. But only if Iraq were to achieve the economic powerhouse status of a wealthy Gulf nation like Kuwait or the UAE. This would take many, many years of sustained growth and reform. Most experts agree that a gradual appreciation is far more likely than a single, massive RV. Now, what about the Vietnamese dong at $3.30? Is that a shock waiting to happen, or a total long shot? Vietnam is an economic superstar in Asia, with rapid manufacturing growth and strong foreign investment. But the idea of its currency reaching $3.30 is far beyond any official projection. Why? Because Vietnam strategically maintains a managed, lower-value currency to keep its exports cheap and competitive. A sudden massive revaluation would cripple its manufacturing sector, while the dong could appreciate slowly in the far future. A jump to $3.30 just isn't supported by current economic policy. So, why do these huge exciting numbers keep circulating? It boils down to a few key things. First, there's the powerful hope for life-changing wealth. Many people hold dinar and dong, dreaming of a massive return. Second, there's a lot of confusion. Terms like rate change, redenomination, and revaluation are often misunderstood and used interchangeably. And finally, speculation channels and social media amplify these unverified predictions, turning hopes into what feels like a pending reality. What do mainstream economists actually predict? For the Iraqi dinar, they see a possible gradual strengthening and maybe a redenomination where they just remove zeros, which doesn't change the value. But no serious analyst is predicting a jump to $4.50 anytime soon. For the Vietnamese dong, Experts expect continued stability and slow appreciation driven by exports, but definitely not a major RV. So, what should you, as an informed follower of these currencies, take away from all this? The talk of a $4.50 dinar and a $3.30 dong is exciting, but it remains pure speculation. Crucial to have realistic expectations. Iraq is improving, but faces major hurdles. Vietnam benefits from a lower currency value. Massive re-evaluations are incredibly rare in modern finance. Gradual growth is the most probable path forward. By staying informed, looking at real economic data, and avoiding the rumor mill, you can make much smarter decisions. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with all the latest, fact-based analysis. We'll see you in the next video. They haven't come from the Central Bank of Iraq or any Vietnamese authority. However, the challenges are just as significant. Iraq still faces political instability, corruption, and a heavy reliance on oil revenue. The private sector needs a lot more growth. Because of these hurdles, experts agree that while a gradual increase in the dinar's value is possible over many years, an overnight jump to $4.50 is highly improbable without a complete economic miracle. Countries with high-value currencies, like Kuwait and Bahrain, built that strength over decades of stability, something Iraq is still working towards. Now, what about the Vietnamese dong at $3.30? Vietnam's economy is an absolute powerhouse, one of the fastest growing in Asia. It's attracting massive foreign investment and has a booming manufacturing and tech sector. But here's the twist. Vietnam intentionally keeps its currency, the dong, at a low value. A cheap dong is a key part of their economic strategy. It makes their exports highly competitive and attracts global manufacturing contracts. A sudden surge to $3.30 would completely wreck this strategy. It would make their goods too expensive and hurt the export-driven economy that has brought them so much success. The Vietnamese government simply wouldn't risk it. Analysts predict a slow, controlled appreciation of the dong. Speed. Once a rumor starts, it can go viral in hours, regardless of whether it's verified. So, what should you, the investor, take away from all this? Remember, no government or central bank has confirmed these high rates. While Iraq and Vietnam both have promising futures, they also have major challenges to overcome. Massive overnight currency re-evaluations are incredibly rare in the modern financial world. A gradual appreciation for both currencies is the most realistic scenario. But extreme values like 450 for the dinar and 330 for the dong are long-shot hopes, not solid predictions. The best advice is to stay informed, make decisions based on official announcements and verified data. And be very cautious of rumors you see circulating on social media. And hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into some major buzz that's been shaking up the currency speculation world. If you follow the Iraqi Dinar or the Vietnamese dong, you've probably heard the name Franc 26. Well, recently, his updates have ignited what some are calling a rate bombshell. And the numbers being thrown around are absolutely massive. We're talking rumors of the Iraqi Dinar potentially hitting a mind-blowing $4.50, and the Vietnamese dong possibly surging to an astonishing $3.30. These figures have sent shockwaves through YouTube channels and investor forums, getting everyone incredibly excited. But let's take a step back and ask the important questions. Are these numbers even realistic? What economic realities support or challenge these predictions? And why do these incredibly high rates keep circulating? Today, we're breaking it all down: the speculation, the economics, and what the experts really think. So, where did this rate bombshell even come from? It all started when followers of Franc 26 interpreted a recent discussion as a hint toward these dramatic future possibilities. The idea that the dinar could eye a $4.50 valuation or the dong could shock the market at $3.30 quickly went viral. But it's crucial to remember, these are not official statements from any government or central bank. They are purely speculative interpretations, fueled by hope and ongoing reforms in both countries. Still, the excitement was real, and it's dominated the conversation ever since. Let's start with the Iraqi dinar. Could it really reach $4.50? On one hand, the potential is there. Iraq is one of the world's richest countries in natural resources. We're talking over 145 billion barrels of proven oil reserves, massive natural gas deposits, and huge potential in future energy exports. If Iraq can achieve long-term stability and transform its economy, it could absolutely support a much stronger currency. Plus, the Central Bank of Iraq is actively pushing for serious financial reforms. They're adopting digital banking, cracking down on corruption, and building international partnerships. These are the essential building blocks for any future rate change. However, there are deep challenges that we can't ignore: political instability, high levels of corruption, and ongoing security concerns are major hurdles. Iraq is also heavily dependent on oil, which makes its economy vulnerable to price swings. So, how realistic is a $4.50 rate? Most economists agree that while gradual appreciation is possible with long-term, sustained reform, a sudden leap to that level is highly unlikely in the short term. To get there, Iraq would need decades of consistent stability and diversified economic growth, a feat that even wealthy, stable nations find difficult to achieve. Now, let's turn to the Vietnamese dong and the rumored $3.30 shocker. Vietnam's economy is a powerhouse. It's rapidly growing, with massive manufacturing capacity, strong foreign investment, and a booming tech and export sector. These factors definitely support a stable, long-term upward trend for the dong. But here's the key difference. Vietnam's government policy is designed to prevent a huge revaluation. Vietnam intentionally keeps its currency low to support its export-driven economy. A cheap dong makes Vietnamese products more competitive on the global market, helping them dominate in manufacturing. A sudden jump to $3.30 would completely disrupt this economic model, making it incredibly unlikely under their current policies. Analysts predict slow, steady appreciation, but a dramatic revaluation like the one being rumored just doesn't align with Vietnam's economic strategy. So, if these high rates are so unlikely, why do they keep spreading like wildfire? First, there's investor hope. Many people who buy dinar and dong are dreaming of a life-changing event, and these rumors feed that dream. Second, there's a genuine misunderstanding of economic terms. People often confuse revaluation with redenomination, where a country simply removes zeros from its currency for accounting purposes. Redenomination doesn't change the currency's value or make investors rich. And finally, there's the power of social media. Once a rumor gets going on YouTube or TikTok, it takes on a life of its own, spreading far and wide without any official confirmation. So, what should investors actually expect? For the Iraqi dinar, experts believe slow strengthening is possible as reforms take hold. A future redenomination could happen, but massive overnight jumps are improbable. For the Vietnamese dong, economists predict continued stability and small, gradual appreciation. The most realistic scenario for both currencies is slow and steady growth as their economies improve. The excitement around a $4.50 IQD and a 3.30 Vietnamese dongs is totally understandable. Those numbers could turn small investments into fortunes. But it is absolutely vital to separate speculation from economic reality. No official authority has ever hinted at these rates. Both Iraq and Vietnam are making progress, but they still face major challenges. Remember, extreme overnight reevaluations are almost unheard of in modern finance. It's smart to stay informed and hopeful, but wise investors base their decisions on data and analysis, not hype. Today, we're diving into some major buzz that's shaking up the currency investment world. These numbers are lighting up forums, Telegram groups, and YouTube channels, creating a mix of pure excitement and total confusion. But where did these figures even come from? Are they grounded in reality, or is it just wishful thinking? Let's break down the hype, look at the actual economics, and figure out what's really going on. So, the whole thing started with commentary from Frank26, a really popular voice in the dinar community. His words were interpreted to mean the Iraqi dinar could one day aim for a $4.50 valuation, while the Vietnamese dong might deliver a jaw-dropping $3.30 surprise. Now, let's be crystal clear about something. These numbers did not come from the Central Bank of Iraq, the IMF, or Vietnam's State Bank. They are not official announcements. They're speculative interpretations, fueled by optimism for long-term reforms. But because both Iraq and Vietnam have genuine economic potential, these dreams of a life-changing revaluation spread like wildfire. First, let's talk about the Iraqi dinar. Could it really hit $4.50? On one hand, Iraq is incredibly rich in natural resources. It has some of the world's largest oil reserves and is developing its natural gas sector. Plus, its location is strategic for trade. In theory, these assets could support a very strong currency in the distant future. On top of that, the Central Bank of Iraq is making real progress with banking reforms, pushing digital banking, fighting corruption, and increasing international cooperation. All of these steps strengthen the economy and help the dinar. However, we have to look at the other side of the coin. Iraq is still dealing with major obstacles like political instability, deep-rooted corruption, and an overdependence on oil. The private sector is still small. These problems make a sudden, massive jump in value highly unlikely. Economists agree that while the dinar could appreciate over the long term, a sudden leap to $4.50 isn't realistic without decades of stability and growth. Just look at countries with high-value currencies like Kuwait or Bahrain. They achieved that status through long-term economic maturity, not overnight. Now, let's shift gears to the Vietnamese dong. A $3.30 valuation sounds amazing, but does it make sense? Vietnam has one of Asia's fastest-growing economies. Thanks to its massive manufacturing output, strong foreign investment, and booming exports. The country is modernizing at an incredible pace. But here's the key. Vietnam's government intentionally keeps the dong's value low. A cheaper currency makes their exports more competitive and encourages foreign companies to set up factories there. A sudden revaluation to $3.30 would completely wreck this successful export-driven model. So, while Vietnam's economy is a powerhouse, a sudden jump to that level just doesn't align with their government's strategy. Analysts expect a slow, controlled appreciation over time, not a speculative shockwave. So why do these huge predictions keep popping up? A big part of it is hope. Many small investors are holding on to dinar or dong, dreaming of a life-changing payout. There's also a lot of misunderstanding. People often confuse terms like revaluation, redenomination, and market adjustments. Once a rumor goes viral on social media, it starts to feel true just because everyone is repeating it. Here's the final verdict. The most realistic scenario for both the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong is a slow, steady increase in value over many years. Another possibility is redenomination, where a country removes zeros from its currency. This simplifies accounting but doesn't create profit for foreign holders. The claims of a $4.50 IQD and a 3.30 Vietnamese dongs are exciting, but they are not based on official data. Remember, real value grows slowly. Smart investors focus on facts, not just hype. While it's great to be hopeful, always make sure your financial decisions are based on realistic expectations. Have you seen the latest bombshell hitting the dinar and dong communities? Rumors are flying that the Iraqi dinar could be eyeing a future value of $4.50, and the Vietnamese dong might shock everyone by hitting $3.30. These numbers are spreading like wildfire across YouTube, Telegram, and forums, sparking a ton of excitement and debate. But are these exchange rates even possible? What's the logic behind these claims? Let's break down the speculation, the facts, and what's really going on. This all seems to stem from a figure in the dinar community known as Frank26. His followers interpreted his latest commentary as a hint that the Iraqi dinar might eventually target that $4.50 mark, and the Vietnamese dong could soar to around $3.30. Now, it's crucial to understand, these figures didn't come from the Central Bank of Iraq, the State Bank of Vietnam, or any global financial institution like the IMF or World Bank. They are purely speculative interpretations from listeners, which then got amplified across social media. Still, the idea of a massive currency revaluation is captivating, especially for those holding these currencies. So, could the Iraqi dinar really hit $4.50? To answer that, we have to look at Iraq's real economic situation. On one hand, Iraq has enormous long-term potential. It sits on some of the largest oil reserves on the planet, has huge untapped natural gas fields, and its location is vital for regional trade. Plus, its young population could fuel major economic growth. The Central Bank of Iraq is also making real progress with financial reforms, modernizing banking, increasing transparency, and fighting corruption. These are all positive steps toward a more stable economy. However, Iraq faces serious challenges that make a sudden jump to $4.50 highly improbable. The country is still dealing with political instability, widespread corruption, and a heavy reliance on oil revenue. Diversifying the economy is a slow process. Experts agree that while the dinar could gradually strengthen as reforms take hold, an explosive leap isn't realistic in the near future. A currency worth over $4 usually belongs to an incredibly stable high-income nation like Kuwait, not a country still in the process of rebuilding. What about the Vietnamese dong reaching $3.30? Vietnam is an economic superstar in Asia, a true manufacturing powerhouse. It has attracted massive foreign investment, has a strong export market, and is seeing rapid GDP growth. These factors definitely support long-term currency strength. But here's the catch. Vietnam intentionally keeps its currency undervalued. This policy makes its exports cheaper and more competitive on the global market, which is a core part of its economic strategy. A sudden, massive revaluation to $3.30 would devastate its export-driven economy. It's simply not a move the government is likely to make. Economists believe the dong will see slow, steady appreciation over many years, not a sudden multi-dollar jump. A big part of it is pure hope. Many investors are dreaming of a life-changing event. There's also a lot of confusion. Through genuine economic potential of both Iraq and Vietnam makes even the wildest rumors sound a little more believable to some. So what do economists actually expect? For the Iraqi dinar, the forecast is for slow and steady improvement, but no immediate, extreme revaluation. The central banks have not confirmed these rates, and such extreme overnight jumps are nearly impossible in modern economies. Real appreciation takes years, not days. It's great to have hope, but smart financial decisions must be based on facts, not rumors.